Hey, everybody. Welcome to another Playful Humans podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague, and my guest this week is a creativity and innovation expert and researcher. His name is Dr. Roger Firestien, and we're going to talk with him about what it's like to play for a living. You can find him at rogerfirestein.com. You can find Playful Humans at playfulhumans.com and take our playfulness quiz. We have a quiz where you can find out which type of play you enjoy most based on a quick 5-question fun BuzzFeed kind of style survey. So go check that out, playfulhumans.com/quiz. Here we go. We like to start off with the joke of the week, Roger. So the joke of the week is brought to you by paper. I was trying to write a joke about paper, but it's terrible. So try paper today. Joke of the week is already.
Is that the punchline, Mike? Okay, no, over to you.
Yeah, there's another joke here. Okay. Which aquatic animal is always an average student?
Aquatic animal is always an average student.
You're a teacher. I thought I'd pull this one out for you.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, but I'm not an aquatic guy. I don't know. Over to you.
The seahorse. Yeah.
Well done.
All right. Good.
Well done.
I don't know if that's well done or not.
Yeah,
but it gets us started. We got the joke of the week out of the way.
Let's start with a joke. Yeah.
So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what you have going on, because you published a book, Creating a Flash.
Sixth one out. Yeah.
International Center for Studies in Creativity. Yep. And you basically do all things creativity, innovation, and problem solving, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been in the creativity and innovation business for about 40 years. I fell in love with this stuff. I grew up in Colorado, and I was playing guitar. I thought I would go to the University of Northern Colorado, be a guitar teacher. All right, grew up on a farm out there, and I found that I got a lot more interested in creativity than in playing the guitar. So I started reading about this place in Buffalo, New York, called the International Center for Studies in Creativity. I got in touch with them back in the late 70s, found that they were doing this Master of Science degree in Creativity and Innovation, doing a conference. I came out here in 1978. I was like the 5th person to get the degree. So far after that, we've graduated about 400 after that. I went on the faculty in 1984. And so I'm doing what I love. And the work that I love is just helping people to be more creative. We teach a process for creativity and innovation, a research validated process. And we've used it I've used it with 600 organizations across the world and in many, many different contexts. So it's research validated, and I get to do what I love every day.
Yeah, well, the research and the science behind it is really what I'm excited about today, because I've talked to a lot of people from, magicians to artists to, professionals that play and create and speak. But I think we all kind of know it. I think it's one of life's principles. We know it's more fun, and we know we're more productive when we're creative. We know that certain things inspire more creativity kind of intuitively. But what does the science tell us about that, about just the benefits of play or how we can create an environment for creativity without forcing it? Because I think if somebody says, quick, say something creative, that doesn't help you do that, right?
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff around that. And I was paging to the book here, and one of my favorite quotes is by the former newscaster, Mike Wallace. And he said, if you don't wake up in the morning excited where you left your work the other day, like you did the day before, you haven't found your calling yet. So if you don't wake up in the morning excited about where you left your work yesterday, you haven't found your calling yet. So we find people that are very creative. First off, they're in love with what they're doing, okay? And the other benefit about creativity is creativity helps you live longer. And there's research on creativity that's found that those people that are involved in creative activities tend to have more active imagination. They tend to stay sharper, those sorts of things. And one of the models for this is my mom, who's going to be 90 years old in March. Happy birthday, Mom. And as I was looking around and using examples for people in my book, I based this on some work of an Australian researcher, Jennifer Gipple, and she's identified the traits of creative people over the years. And one of the things is that they always have a project going on. They're involved in their community. They're basically healthy. And it's so funny when I talk to my mom, she's got 3 or 4 projects. She's a quilter. She's a church organist. She's involved in the community. And and I actually wrote about her in the book. And she said, some of my friends call me and they say that they're bored. And she goes, I can't understand why they're bored. I have all these things to do. And she says, I usually have 3 or 4 projects going at one time. And so I'll go from this project to this project to this project. And we can talk a little bit about that later. But that is really the secret to long-term creativity, is always having something to be working on, volunteering, a sense of meaning, and then a sense that you can give back to the world. So, and then that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I love all that. I haven't heard the one about living longer, but that's going on my list now. I mean, I've seen studies that you're more attractive, you're definitely healthier, less stress, more productive, generally, you know, make more money and things like that too. But living longer, that one's a huge one. So how come we all seem to think that fitting into a box, following the rules and following these systems and processes help us live longer than being creative and pushing ourselves?
You know, I think we've been taught that in some respects, you know, and as we talked about before the interview, when I got involved in this business, we'll go back to mom again. I'm a kid on a farm in Colorado, and I managed to talk to one of the authors of this field when I called out here in April of 1977. And so I decided to move to Buffalo from Greeley, Colorado. And I'm talking to my mom one day, and I said, I don't know if I'm ever going to make any money in this, but I sure do love it. And that's really the thing. It really is the whole aspect of love. And when you take a look at people that are doing great, extraordinary work, it's not for the money, it's not for the pay, it's for the love of it. And Teresa Amabile, the researcher from Harvard, talks about the intrinsic motivation of creativity principle, which is that people are going to be more creative when they're motivated for the love of doing the task, and they'll put themselves into it more and more and more. And so that's where it's so much fun to play. Yeah.
Well, and I loved your quote about being bored there. There's a line from a Harvey Danger song where they say, if you're bored, then you're boring. And that one always like jumped out at me, and I was like, wow, you know,
it's a really great point.
That's an alternative rock song. It probably isn't, you know, life philosophy, but it hit me where like, you're right. If you're sitting around going, oh, how come there's nothing to do? It's me. You haven't come up with anything. You're the one that's boring, not life, right?
Exactly. And it really goes back to you. It's really sort of the whole locus of control. Who's going to be in control of my life? Me or circumstances out there, you know? And we are in an extraordinary time right now. And it's very interesting, Mike, and I'm sure you've experienced this as well. When you talk to people that are in similar fields to what we are, there's 2 types of folks. One of the folks that are like going, you know, I can't be out speaking and training and consulting anymore. I'm dead. I'm dead. And the other type of folks are like going, well, this is interesting. How else can I get my message out? You know, and how can I go online, or how can I produce something, or how can I do videos? And it's interesting too. I mean, I was not a person who's in favor of going online, but I've produced, you know, several online programs. We're doing online video, and I'm having a blast. So yeah.
Well, and I think that's the crux of it with creativity, especially when it comes to problem solving, is that as soon as you see something as a roadblock, as that's the end of the road for you, then of course you're not going to find a solution, because you stop looking. It's like, where do you find your keys? The last place you look?
Right.
Yeah, because that's you don't look after you find the keys. But it's the same thing. After you find a roadblock that you can't get past, that's when you stop being creative. Do you have any advice for people that maybe feel like they got stuck of how to get back into creativity, or how to get those engines cranking again?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because the key to that is language. Language is the key to that. So let me give you an example. And it's really, most people think that creativity is coming up with a great idea. I want to push back against that. Creativity is solving the real problem, right? And so oftentimes we accept the initial definition of the problem as the real problem. So for example, you're working on a project and you say, we don't have enough money, it's too expensive. Well, your thinking stops right there. as opposed to saying how to raise the money or how to reduce the cost. Well, those last two statements, those last two questions open your mind up to the possibilities that there's some ideas out there. How to reduce the cost? Well, we could do this, instead of saying we don't have enough money, done. So what I recommend is that if you're finding a roadblock, you know, and I'm bored, well, how to not be bored, or how to be involved in stuff that I get excited about, or how to find things that are interesting to me to do. And that tells your brain to go look for solutions. And because we're using the word might, these can be any solutions. We haven't put in any boundaries on it. And so look for everything that you can and then focus in on it later. But language is what's crucial to drive creativity in our brains.
Yeah, I found that too. I love those possibility words, the might, and for me, yet is a great word. So
yet.
I haven't cracked this yet. Or one I learned along the way that really helped me in goal setting was from now on. So I think a lot of people say, you know, you get hung up. You're like, well, I haven't done this, or I made a lot of mistakes in the past. That's for people that are getting stuck in the past.
Yeah.
You just say, you know what, from now on, I'm a non-smoker. I might have just finished my last cigarette, but from now on, I'm vegan. From now on, I'm sticking to the diet. And it gives you permission to forgive what happened before, but still think about the possibilities moving forward, right? All you can control is from now on anyway. Right.
Like, that is so crucial. And I think that mindset is, you know, when you're in the creativity business and you're doing creative projects, you're going to have a lot of failures. You know, you're going to have stuff that's not going to work, that's not quite to the point. And so I like to use a definition of a mistake as a result that you didn't anticipate. The question is, what can you learn from that result? And so you've heard the expression trial and error. Of course, well, we like to turn that around and say trial and learn. So what did you learn? So trial and so if folks today, as they're watching this and listening to this, if they can just change their headset from trial and error to trial and learn, amazing things will begin to open up. So mistake is just a result you didn't anticipate. What can you learn from it?
Yeah, the other thing I remembered when you were talking is my dad, I think, really taught that in me. And so I'm super lucky that from a very young age, one of my earliest memories was like 3 or 4. I was at one of those Mother's Day out, like daycare things. And some, you know, little other kid was picking on me. Every time I go play with a toy, he would want that toy and take it and stuff. And I was getting frustrated. My dad just said, look, this one's easy. You go over and you find a toy you don't want to play with. You act like it's the coolest thing in the room. When he comes to steal it, then you go pick the one that you actually wanted.
That's brilliant.
I was like, it cracked in my mind. And obviously I remember it, you know, 37 years later or whatever, that it's like, oh, well, I don't have to just take this. I can be more creative, and I can get what I want if I just think outside the box here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And he did that. I mean, it's really hard to make excuses. So that's the hard part. That's what I heard in your thing is when you make an excuse, that's when you stop being creative, having fun, learning and growing. But if you keep looking for options. So I saw on your website about creative questions, and that is where I wanted to go next here, because I think it plays right in. Questions are interesting because it makes you consider possible answers. Do you have any favorite questions?
Yes, I do. And as a matter of fact, you know, when we talk about some possibility questions, we use what we call statement starters or question starters, and there's 4 of them. How might I? How might I reduce the cost? How might I have more fun? How might I get involved in other projects? How might I do things differently now? How to, you know, once again, similar to how might I? In what ways might I, right? And what might be all the ways to? Now, the one is in what might be all the ways to, that's where you want to kind of like list things. So if you want to come up with a name for a new product, and what might be all the new names for our new product. So that generates names. The other ones really kind of generate a whole different way of looking at things. And, you know, when you have that block and that obstacle that comes at you, when you think this way and that obstacle comes at you, all of a sudden you go, in what ways might I, or how might I, or how to? I have a very good friend who's a farmer, and he says oftentimes when he gets into a situation like this, he'll say, it's very dramatic, the sweat is dripping down and it's getting in your eyes. And he goes, I just stop for a minute and I ask the question, how might I, or how to? And the calm comes over me, and all of a sudden the ideas begin to percolate. And just putting that in your brain, how to or how might I, and then letting it go, here comes the ideas. And then be ready to write those ideas down. That's the other thing as well, capture those ideas. How to, how might, in what ways might I, what might be all the ways to. that's the way to, yeah.
Those are awesome. I love that. And I appreciate that you wrote, mentioned writing it down, because
Mm-hmm.
I think that for me is an interesting thing. I think a lot of people are creative, but they discount those ideas so fast, right?
Right,
They
right.
go, oh, we could probably do that. And I might tell my boss that, tomorrow when I have, or next Monday when we have our meeting and stuff. And then it's gone. That cool
Mm-hmm.
idea you could have executed
Yeah,
leaves. And especially in the middle of the night, I have to have the pen and paper next
me
to my
too.
bed.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
yeah,
I
yeah.
just get totally frustrated
My
that I
first
lose
book, I
ideas.
actually dictated at about 4 o'clock in the morning. And this was back in the 80s. I used a little pocket tape recorder and I burned through the whole mini cassette. And if I wouldn't have had that with me, Mike, that book wouldn't exist. And now it's in the 5th printing or something like that. The other thing about this is too, is when those ideas come out, they're not going to be fully formed. But you get it out, you write it down, and then you don't have to put energy into remembering it. You can put energy into building onto it and making it better and better. Oh, so here's this idea. That's not quite it. How can we make that a little bit better or a little bit better? But it's written down. You don't have to put any conscious brain energy on that, because creativity takes a lot of brain energy, and you're burning a lot of glucose and stuff up there to make this happen. So, but yeah, just get it out. You can always build on it later. So,
Yeah, I think that's an important point, because there's kind of two sides to that coin, right? I think a lot of people don't follow creative ideas because they feel like if they start it, they have to finish it, or it's
right,
going to be a lot of work. And I do that. And you can have a creative idea and do nothing with it, right? It's just fun
right.
to have it. But if you capture it, you never know when you might want to come back to it, or it solves a different problem, which is also really
Oh
interesting. I
man,
found
all the
when you
time.
collect resources, then you find out that, oh, learning over here applies over here, and you're making new connections. That's huge.
And that's it. That's the whole essence of creativity, is making those connections and in different ways than what we thought of. But yeah, you get those ideas. What do you think about artists have sketchbooks? All right. Composers used to have composing books. Now you put all you riff it into a smartphone, and you have all these little melodies, all these little starters. One of the local artists here, Charles Birchfield, who did a lot of work in the Western New York area, had sketches and sketches and sketches, and he'd put them in a box. And when he got done with something, you go through and go, oh, this is an interesting thing to start with. Interesting thing to start with. And I think that's, once we've got that down, it's a starter. And I think when you think about writing something, well, what is it? 99% of writing or starting a new project is getting started,
Mm-hmm.
So you always have those starters around ready to go for you. Yeah.
I love that. And I love looking back through them every once in a while, because you go, oh, that was a good idea. I'm going to do something with that. Or you go back and go, what is dog patch dollars? I have no idea.
It's here. Right? It's like, what is that? What was I thinking when I wrote that? Yeah, okay, don't have to do that.
Yeah.
But this one, oh yeah, I can. Oh, just a minute, Mike.
Yeah, and you mentioned the smartphone. I Evernote. I love the Evernote app, because I can get it on every device and save stuff quickly. And you can dictate it, you can type it in, take a picture or something, all
it's
right in there. And you got this great ideas file. You can check whenever you need to do something.
Yeah, always great
anything
starters.
Else in your studies of creativity that you think the average person doesn't know but should?
Well, I think one of the things is that we have a creativity crisis going on in our country right now. And studies have found that since the early 1990s, the creativity scores of children are going down significantly, all right? And that's crucial, because creativity is a skill that we need to have more and more and more, but it is getting trained out of us, all right? And not only is it getting trained out of us, all these devices that we have and stuff, there's no room for creativity in there. You just respond to it. So I guess some advice for creativity is, one, and you're going to probably hear this from a lot of your folks you're interviewing, is put these devices away. Right? Growing up on a farm in northern Colorado, there was times I was bored. Boredom is good. Boredom is good. So then you go out and you figure out stuff to do. So there was a wood pile. So I think I'll build a treehouse. So I built a treehouse. My father always had this joke about it. He said, if I ever can't find any tools, I go out to the tree and there they are. So, and we built rafts and we built go-karts and we did all that kind of stuff. So one of the things is, it's okay to be bored. It's also okay to have time. And this is one of the things that we talk about as people are getting older. They have the time to pursue these things. They oftentimes, if they have the resources to do this, and I'm not meaning tremendous resources, but at least, they've got enough to carry them on, and then they can contribute back in extraordinary ways. And so time is one thing. It's okay to be bored. You know, the other thing is listening to different things, getting all sorts of different inputs, you know, reading different material, or
Yeah.
listening to different material. There was a study that was done a number of years ago on the reading habits of scientists, and they divided them into 3 groups. Right? And one group was the group that didn't read much at all, and they weren't very creatively productive. They called them the slugs. Okay. The second group were they read only in their field, primarily in their field, and they were productive. The third group were the innovative scientists, and although they weren't necessarily as technically proficient sometimes as the second folks, they were the most creatively productive ones because they were reading everything in all these areas. And really the essence of creativity is to make connections between things that generally don't relate to each other. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's been, I've studied and read about this
Yeah.
obviously too, but I figured that out a long time ago, that the way I get my best ideas is to cram a whole bunch of stuff into my brain, do all the research, look at all the stuff, listen to podcasts, watch TED Talks, whatever, and then get away from it, set it all down, go for a run, go for a walk, work out, go play, you know, a game or something, and then just take a shower, like you said, make yourself bored, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, there it is. The connection pops into your brain. But I love what you said too about the board. I think that's been huge for me, even in 2020 and stuff, when we're all kind of bored, is to not fill that time with Netflix or other things to distract us. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day, and they overschedule. And they underestimate that what you can do in a year. So if you just take time and just work on it a little bit, you can make a lot of progress, and you don't have all that stress and pressure that you have to fit it in the next 2 minutes.
And there's 2 things there that are great. Working on it a little bit. I'm working on a number of projects right now, and I flip from project to project to project to project, because when I'm working on one project, I'm incubating from the other one. Benjamin Franklin used to do this. The whole thing, as far as what you talked about, that thing about preparing, that's a classic model of creativity, of the creative process, is preparation, incubation, you step away, all right? Illumination, bang, the idea hits you, and then verification, you verify if it works. Now that's great if you've got the time for it, but one of the things that we do is help people to become deliberately more creative, and that's the focus of my work. But that's the classic model. Yeah, deliberately creative. So you can turn on the creativity as will instead of waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm going to have to check out the book Create in a Flash, because that sounds definitely a lot faster. I tend to create in a procrastination way. So I do all that. That's how I wrote all my papers in college, right? Is like, read the stuff, go out, have fun, play with the friends, and then 30 minutes before it's due, write it all down.
well, that was the thing. That's why we did Create in a Flash, because there's that people think that creativity takes this long, laborious time. You got to work, and it's not that way at all. It's play. It's having fun. It's working with new ideas. And we're producing a series of videos right now on creativity based on the book, and we're having so much fun playing. You know, it's like, let's go shoot this now. Let's do this video over here now. And the people are loving it because they're so different from many of the training videos that are out there. We poke fun of ourselves and everything else. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I mean, you absolutely nailed it there. So I want to ask you personally, what do you do for fun? You still play the guitar and stuff?
I do. I still play the guitar. Yeah. And I take a guitar lesson every week with one of the local guitarists who's in the Buffalo, New York Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And so I do that, and then there's a few other things I do that we can talk about a little bit later, because I think we have a quiz coming up at the end, and I'll blend that in a little bit later. Yeah. So, yeah, I do that, and then I'm also just having a blast doing my work right now. It's really interesting, Mike. I found as I was thinking about this interview, one of the things that I'm finding right now that I need to do every day is write. And write on projects. And the background on that, when I did my third book, Leading on the Creative Edge, third book, I didn't write anything for 20 years. And then I did a few things in between, and no big projects until I did Create in a Flash. And now I'm writing like crazy. And it's sort of like all that stuff has been stored up there. So I need to get a little bit of writing time in every day, and then I have a great time. And so I feel like I've been productive, and it's fun. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we're very similar. I find if I write every day and then I do something like this, if I speak every day or get to be on stage or something, like those 2 things are really fun. And then the rest is just recovering and enjoying life and reading and stuff like that. Yeah, anything on your fun bucket list? Anything that you've always wanted to do but haven't yet?
You know, honestly enough, I'm really very, very happy doing what I'm
That's
doing.
awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
and it was really interesting because back to what talking to my mom earlier about, you know, I don't know if I'm going to make any money doing this, but I sure do love it. I had a college professor named Jim Warner, and he was the head of the Department of Anthropology at the University of Northern Colorado. And Jim is a sculptor, a dancer, a sailor, an anthropologist, a horse farmer, a pianist, a piano tuner, a cellist, a real Renaissance guy. And his line was, he said, you know, do what you love and the money's going to follow. And
Yeah.
I think we are at an extraordinary time to be able to do that because we have this whole big playground of stuff that we have, all this technology, all this stuff. And so
Right.
do what you love and the money will follow. And I've told my daughter that, and you know, just everybody in my classes, and by gosh, it works. So I'm doing what I'm loving. So yeah.
Yeah, it's true, and especially with, like you said, the globalization and of the internet and everything, that you can find an audience. It doesn't have to be that huge. You know, it used to be in your own town. Okay, there might not be enough people that want your thing,
Right,
but now
right.
when you got the whole world, you can find enough people that do.
Exactly.
You can do whatever you want. All right,
And
it's time to play the game here, Roger.
All right.
But
Oh,
you can't force any fun. So, do you want to play, or would you like to walk away and skip it?
I'll play, Mike. I'll play.
All right, here we go. We're spinning the prize wheel, find out which game we are playing, and it landed on Two Truths and a Lie. Two Truths and a Lie.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So
okay.
I will. I'll go first, and you can
Right.
guess. How about that?
All right. Okay.
Let you think of them.
Right.
I played basketball with the Backstreet Boys backstage. I played basketball against 3 different NBA players in high school. Or I have dunked a basketball on a live 10-foot rim.
I'm gonna go with the Backstreet Boys. Is the truth?
Oh well, the
Or is
lie.
the lie?
You're
Is
picking
the lie? Is that the lie?
That is the lie. So you nailed it, man. I've done that one twice, and people have gotten it right. I did it on another thing I was on, but so I was so jealous. It was in radio, and so
Yeah.
I was on the radio, and the rest of the staff were playing basketball with the Backstreet Boys backstage, but I was the one on stage at that time, so I missed it. I was so jealous, but the other ones were true. How about yours? What do you got for us?
Well, okay, so let's see. Growing up in Colorado, when I came up, I was a member of the Colorado Ski Patrol. This one you'll probably get. I played guitar in rock bands throughout the Eastern Slope. And now in my spare time and for fun, I work cattle. I herd cattle on my friend's farm.
Ooh. You know what? I kind of think the cattle is interesting. So I'm going to say ski patrol is the lie.
You're absolutely right. I can't ski.
There you go. From Colorado and you can't ski?
Yeah, you know, when you came out to Buffalo, well, I lived, 50 miles from the nearest ski area. We were on the Eastern Slope. And so there's the mountains over there. We didn't have the money at that time to go up to ski slopes. There's the mountains over there. And so when I came to Buffalo, back in the late 70s, they said, oh, you're from Colorado. You must ski. I don't. So I did it a few times.
That's all right. That's great. I love
skier.
So tell us about what you have going on here. Any way we can help you or ways to follow you if we like what we heard today?
Yes. Just go to rogerfirestein.com, and there's a tremendous amount of things there. We have, you can sign up for my blog, which is Innovation Espresso, which is a concentrated dose of creativity, tools, and techniques. It's free. Also, I recently put together a free online course on facilitating the creative problem-solving process. And this is based on the videos. When we did Create in a Flash, we produced 20 videos that show you how to do the process, where I'm working with a group, takes them through the process. There's 11 downloadable PDFs, writable PDFs on there. Also on the website, there's a whole variety of videos and things on how to get more creative. So I would just say go to rogerfirestein.com, have fun, look around on there. And as I mentioned, lots of videos and lots of great resources. And the Innovation Espresso, there's tremendous things there as well. We also have research articles on there as well. So folks that are in the research area and they want to get the research behind this, why it works, from publications and from journals like Small Group Research and Creativity Research Journal and Journal of Creative Behavior.
Awesome.
So we have the practice and we have the academic side as well.
I love that. Roger, thanks for being on the show. Again,
My
RogerFirestein.com. We'll put the link below in the comments and show notes and stuff there, so you can click that. If you're looking for more information on Playful Humans, start by subscribing to this podcast on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you can find it. Leave us a comment. Let us know if you have any suggestions for future guests. And don't forget to take that playfulness quiz, playfulhumans.com/quiz. Find out how playful you are and what your playful personality type is. Until next time, if you can't be good at it. Go play.